Why, hello, and welcome to another weekly update for Ready Communities. My name is Chad Renando,
And I'm Kerry Grace, and I'm in Gumbaynggirr Nations today in Coffs Harbour.
and I am up in Yagara country, up in near Ipswich, and I do want to pay respects to traditional custodians, past, present, and emerging that might be listening to this. And so, Kerry, we had a conference last week, the Social Impact of the Regions Conference. If anybody's been following along with these updates, every week we've been saying the conference is coming. You got to buy your tickets. It's going to be amazing. We had a conference last week, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it really was amazing. I mean, it's one thing to dream up all of these ideas, but to actually see people turn up and then really enjoy them is, wow, it's a whole other thing. So I've just spent the week in the garden just unpacking and understanding exactly what's happened.
That's right. That's right. And for those following along on social media, we are posting just daily diary, about 15 to 20 posts or so, just every single aspect of the conference, because we just recognize that, people that come, not everybody who wants to come can come, really try to share those insights, celebrate the people that went, and really embed it. Because the other aspect of this is it's an annual conference, goes around different regions every year, but we really want it to build. We want to say, what is the systemic difference and change that we're going to be making in how we do things in for social impact in regional Australia? So that's kind of our intent in doing this, really capturing it, because they say an unreflected experience is a lost experience, and we definitely don't want to lose this experience.
It's not only that, it's also Chad and I, sorry, you and I receive a lot of compliments over what has happened, which of course we're grateful for. But it's not only us. The conference doesn't happen without people turning up and taking time out of their lives and their workforces. Doesn't happen without the sponsors and the donors. Doesn't happen without the people endorsing it and telling other people. And the speakers, there were over 50 speakers that all came and gave their time to be able to connect and stay in the audience so that it's not just, somebody standing on the stage and then disappearing. They stayed to connect with people, the local community as a host. There's just so many people that make an event like this actually happen and make it a community.
Right, that's right. And the word that gets thrown around quite a bit that you and I talk about is a movement. And it is a bit like that, where you have this building effect of all these different people passionate and wanting to make a difference that comes together for this. We also do acknowledge that there's other conferences through the year. Change Fest is going to be happening over in Western Australia here at the end of November. And there's other events that people have, that Kate puts on at the great
The Social Impact
social
Summit.
Social Impact
Yep.
Summit in Sydney, and that's around July. And so we really want to create a bit of this cadence where it is a culmination of a conversation. So a lot of the same people are part of this progress that we're making. We are also still in Grafton. So Ready Communities is the program that leads into the Social Impact of Regions Conference and also follows on that community for the next 12 months after. Next week, we are unpacking with the local community what happened, what did we learn, what does that next 12 months worth of programming look like? And we're also then back down in Kempsey because Kempsey was the 2024 program. We're still doing some work down there.
Yeah, I'll be in both communities and I'll see you in Grafton as well this week. And it's really important to us that we don't just do this amazing thing, an amazing conference, and then disappear. We're already talking to some people about coming into Grafton, some of our alumni, and we've already had alumni in Kempsey. So Starts and Good have just run their Good Hustle program in Kempsey, which is great. That's just wrapping up now with, I think there's about 15 to 20 social entrepreneurs part of that too. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool. That's where it really is a movement. So we really want to create change in the way things happen with not at regional communities, whether it's social impact, economic development, community development. And that's what we're really demonstrating as well as leading other people too.
Yeah. Yeah, and that speaks, like we were saying before, as far as the conference being a bit of a catalyst for that local community, as well as that catalyst nationally on how we're actually progressing this conversation, which also speaks to the need to make sure the conference moves around to different communities every year. Because every time we have put it into a new context, we heard that loud and clear at the conference, is that you have to have differences in place-based approaches that accommodate the differences of those communities. And we don't know what those are until we try it in each of the new communities. And so we are on the road over the next month or so, going to different communities, scouting out where that next social impact in the regions conference is going to be.
Yeah, really welcome people to get in touch with us. We prefer to be invited into a community. It just makes so much more sense for us. And now I guess the first three conferences have essentially been in my backyard. I live in the mid north coast in New South Wales. We do need to move further afield now. It is a national conference. It will always have that flavour of the local community. We'll always build on the readiness in the community, and it's time to be moving a little bit further afield now. But in terms of the way that we deliver our program, Chad, it's enabled us to put together this new concept, which is the local facilitator training.
That's right. That's right. And so, in addition, because Carrie and I, like you and I, realized that it's just you and I. And so, you and I going to every region, that's a pretty slow burn of hitting regions every year. So, next year, we are looking at 5 regions at the same time. And to do that, that's going to have the local impact facilitator training program and then equipping them then to work with additional local focus area leads in their communities, running a modified version of the program that we do. It includes a 1 week residential local impact facilitator training, equipping them around the readiness index, around that greater clarity, connection, capability, and capacity, collaboration for purpose, and advocacy and promotion, be able to benchmark the community, measure the change over time, running the activation events, developing your focus areas, providing the mapping, and then coming to the conference. And then after the conference, where we go back to that community of those different 5 communities and run a 3/4 day event where we say, what do we learn? And then what does that mean for your community moving forward? And then one of those 5 communities will be the proper social impact in the region's host and the full Ready Communities program the year after. That's the plan. So, if you're out there and you're in a community and say, wow, we wouldn't mind some of that support, definitely keen to have a conversation. We're going to be selecting those 5 communities over the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. And it's really important to note if people are wondering, well, what is a local impact facilitator? Terms you may be aware of. It's really, in our view, a combination of community development, economic development, regional development, which once upon a time might have been encased in language like community economic development. The practices that we're looking at are backed up with the readiness index and also all of the measurement methodologies around that. Also, we have the mapping systems. So Ready Communities has a mapping system too, which people will use too. But then there's our methodologies about bringing people together and actually enhancing the readiness in the community. Why do we talk about that word readiness anyway, Chad?
Um, well, there's a few ways to answer that, Carrie. One of them is in contrast to other words that you might use, right? So there's other words like well-being, which is great, which is the overall sense on the livability within my community. There's also resilience, the other R word. But the challenge that we find with resilience, it is a good framework, but it can also kind of keep people to make it so that they don't necessarily change, and they bounce back to things that may not be serving them or helping them. And also to be able to say somebody's resilient can mean that we don't have to invest in them because, oh, you're resilient. Whereas ready, it says that you're pretty much ready for anything that comes along and you're prepared for what comes. Because too often, sometimes when a flood or fire hits, or maybe those windmills are coming to town, or you're talking about decarbonization, or the mining is leaving, or we're having massive shifts in our agriculture, we need to diversify. We often only get around the table when those things happen. And so what we do through readiness and the Ready Communities framework is we get them ready for those conversations, even the things are coming down the path, things that you are unsure of. And then the conference really culminates that. And having a major event is like an artificial catalyst. So it's not a fire or a flood. It's wow, 2, 3, 400 people are coming to our town. How do we manage this? Because if you can manage how you deal with that, it starts preparing you for dealing with other things that might come through.
I like that description. The other way that I describe it as well is we spend a lot of time and invest a lot of money in creating change in regional communities and building what might be used as sometimes another spiky word, capabilities in the community. But if we don't have those fundamental things that enable people to come together, enable them to advocate, enable them to identify what training they actually need, we just keep getting things served at us. And once we can actually really stand on our own and have what we describe as readiness, but those fundamental principles, then things can really change in that place-based sense as well. So in other words,
I,
we know how to advocate and strive towards what we need.
Yeah, and I like one of the things that you often point out is that unlocking of the latent resources that are already there in the community. And it's something that Kim Horton identified at the Systems Conversation Conference, where he said, "Look, too often, leadership development, capability building, as they often call it. Not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but quite often communities can say, oh, maybe we didn't have leadership, and all of a sudden I feel bad because you feel that I have to have my capability built." Whereas quite often they already have that capability there. It's just providing a bit of a framework and support for what they already have and really elevating them rather than coming in with a top-down approach. And you find that in all the regions that you've worked in, as far as the capital that's unlocked just by easing a few things or making a few introductions.
Yeah, it always happens. That's right. And that's also why we use so many small businesses to supply the conference too, because I mean, A, it feels like the right thing to do and it sits with our procurement policy, local procurement policy really well. But B, it also shows people that they can stretch just a little bit and, you know, approach different markets or serve slightly bigger audiences as well. So the results of doing that are really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So over the next week, we're going to be hitting different regions. We're going back to Grafton. We're going to be sharing a lot more about some of the outcomes of the conference. We're still developing our white paper. Feel free to have a read of our white paper from last year that we released earlier this year. We are working on the white paper for next year, where we get a lot of these inputs, these insights, and I'll be informed quite a bit as we select our next region. So if you want to be that next region, please feel free to, Kerry, as you said, we want to be invited in um, to explore, and also across Australia, if you want to be one of those five with the local impact facilitator training, where that training is going to be happening next March for the 1 week residential. Reach out for that as well.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And we'll keep recovering after what has been a really massive couple of months. Um, a few more jumper days and a bit more time in the sunshine. I'm sure we'll be back on track as of Monday.
So, all right. Well, thanks, Kerry, and thanks all, and we'll chat again next week.
Thanks, Chad.
Oops. Do that. I want to do